And you're very welcome. This is Fintan Dunn with good news that a legal action against Betfair in the United Kingdom over their conduct of the Trump 2020 election market is now on the cards, underway, and we're inviting you to participate in that at the above link. That's a Telegram group where you can get the latest on it and get news on that action, and lay out the nature of the action and show you how you can participate in this, how you can help, and how you can put your money where your mouth is and prepare to take legal action against Betfair to recover the substantial damages and losses which you suffered as a result of the way they handled that market. Now, in order to tackle something like that, and this is reasons why we've had to delay until the right time, which I felt was now, and also the right people. Because there's no point in going up against Betfair, a very, very large firm with substantial resources, unless you are suitably resourced to take them on. And that's the good news I'm here to announce, that we are. Because no point in showing up to a gunfight with a water pistol. And we're not showing up with no water pistol. This is not an effort to let's see how it goes and throw a few quid here at this and see what happens. No, this is a calculated, cold, because we're not in the heat at the moment, and determined effort to recover the damages to which we are entitled. A careful and measured approach, and I'm inviting you, as I say, to participate in that and to listen to the strategy which I'm about to outline to you. It's all about the people and the firm, etc. So when it comes to the firm involved, and I'm looking here now at their webpage, which I wish I could share with you, but for reasons of making sure that their switchboard isn't jammed with callers, I can't do that. So I will, however, just tell you that this is a firm with hundreds of employees and is a large commercial law firm. So this is a firm also which is sharp and is recognised in chambers and is in the top 500. So this is a class premier firm. Good and all as the firm is, that's not as important as who the solicitor is that we have lined up for this legal action. Solicitor is, well, let's say if this was a boxing match, well, then this guy is Joe Frazier. Or maybe he's a bit more smart than Joe, because this guy is nimble, he is serious, he has managed teams of solicitors, he's at partner level in this firm, and he has considerable experience. If I mentioned the name of at least one of the legal firms that he has worked for along the way, you would recognize the name of that firm and you would say, that's a very posh firm. I recognize their name. Yes, indeed they are. And indeed he has that kind of a background. So both the firm and the solicitor are experienced and extremely capable, and I'd be very confident. However, the icing on our cake is that we also have lined up a barrister who can only be described and has been described and could be described as one of the leading barristers in the United Kingdom. The words first class and outstanding are applicable in his case. This is somebody on the top of his game and well capable of taking on the likes of Betfair. But of course, we're not interested in fighting Betfair in the High Court in London on these issues. We're interested in sitting down with Betfair and mediating this issue and saving everybody a lot of time and a lot of legal costs, which are entirely unnecessary. We have our case, we can make our case, and with the assistance of the correct legal team, we can ensure that when we do sit down with Betfair at that mediation table, that we are in a position to achieve a realistic and substantial settlement of our claim against them. Now, The scope and scale of that claim is what I'll touch upon now as to who may be involved. There is obviously class action potential in this because Betfair, I think we've clearly established in the filings we placed with IBAS, despite their dismissal of those of that complaint, we clearly established the negligence which lies at the heart of this. So, being that the case, there is nothing to prevent us from moving forward with a firm legal action on a class action basis, and that would have applicability across everybody who placed a bet. However, that's a very, very complex process, involves considerable investment, and it's a big enterprise. And the difficulty is getting enough momentum to get that kind of a process underway. So there is another strategy, another approach, which is to use a spearhead which is composed of those who had the most to lose, who did lose the most, and who therefore have the most to gain from a proper evaluation of their claim against the company and a reasonable settlement of that claim. Those who placed not just a small amount on, but those who placed, as a guideline figure, 5,000 sterling or more as a bet, whether in one bet or spread across a number of bets, on that bet with Betfair. That's the kind of minimum we're talking about for the spearhead. Now, many people bet more than that. There are individuals who bet twice that, 3 times that, 4 times that, and more. And so a group composed of those individuals, and a number of those individuals are already speaking with each other and with me, and with the legal firm, and with the Barrister Involved. So these exploratory connections have already taken place, and so we are now poised to make a move. So those individuals who did have the most to lose and who lost the most have the most to gain now by moving forward and acting as a spearhead. Essentially, if we are going to have a set to, somebody's got to kick down the castle gates first before the entire army that we have assembled as a class can move in and engage the enemy. And so the idea is to create such a battering ram with those who have a lot to gain from a successful action. And my invitation at the moment extends especially to those of you who have 5,000 sterling or more bet on this, because on that basis it may work for you. Let me explain how, and we'll just look into some of the facts and figures on this one, because I'm sure you all want to know those also. But I'd like you to have time to take a deep breath first before I display the actual legal costs to you, because I did say that we have got serious players here, very sharp, and some of the best legal minds in the United Kingdom. So that don't come cheap, folks. So here's a rough guideline of the kind of legal costs that you might face. Let's say your bet was 5,000 sterling, which you placed on. Well, then we've got a sort of a minimum of about 700 anyone's going to face. Plus, well, we'll just call it that. We'll just call that 700, right? And let's say you put on 6,000 sterling. Well, then your cost would be about 750. And so you can use that table to figure out, well, I put on 8. So my legal cost, if I want to join in on this, will be about 850. I put on 10. So my legal cost to join in on this will be about 950. So you see, just using that as a guideline. Now, this is assuming we get around, say, about 50 people, who are in this range, right, who come forward. This is the kind of spread, the kind of costs that we might need to take such an action. So just do some simple math on that one, for example. Say the cost there for somebody who put on 10,000 sterling. The legal costs involved quoted here is 950. I'm not saying those are going to be the legal costs. I'm just throwing a figure which is a reasonably good guess of what it will take to get to that point where we get a settlement. Well, then you see you're getting about a 10 to 1. If suppose, let's say that you got all your money back as a negotiated settlement, perhaps you might get more, because there are aggravated damage aspects to this as well too, in terms of loss of profit potential. So yes, Amy, you will get more. We're being very prudent here. So let's say, being prudent, that you were successful in getting your 10k back. Well, then you get 10k back for an investment of 1k. It's 10 to 1 is the odds, because this is a gamble. This is nothing else but a gamble. This is not a fight for justice. Don't confuse it with that. That's why it's being done now, in the cold light of day, in the cold desire for justice, motivating it, but don't let that be the objective. This is a gamble. And so we look at the odds there. You gambled, didn't you, on Trump? Okay, so evaluate the odds. By comparison, somebody who bet only 5,000 would have higher costs, and you see they're only getting about 7 to 1 proportionately return. Now, if we didn't secure 100% return, am I saying that we would accept less than 100%? No, I'm not. I'm saying that being very prudent, we also have to assume worst case scenarios. So let's say our worst case scenario was that only 50% recovery was there. In this case here, you would have 3.5 to 1 would be the recovery. And in this case here, would only be 5 to 1. If only 5,000 was recovered, then there would only be a 5 to 1 really on offer as the true odds. So depending on your expectation of what the recovery is going to be, the odds are anything from 5 to 1 to 10 to 1 to, with damages, 20 to 1. Who knows, depending on your bet. Now, that's assuming that we get around about 50 coming forward. Here's another set of figures, and these are slightly higher, especially for those who placed more, which show you if we had, say, about 25 people come forward to pursue this, then that's roughly the figures that you'd have there. Running pretty much in the same range, but slightly higher costs compared to if we get a decent number. So it's in that scale, it's in that range, folks. But there is an added advantage, which is that, as I said, this is aimed at arriving at a mediated resolution of this issue with Betfair, rather than simply being fobbed off by customer service with the brick wall, which we've all experienced. This is aimed at getting across a table from them and getting a negotiated solution. But the key to getting there is being able to go the distance to the High Court if it matters, if they're still resolute in resisting. And in order to do that, you need to be able to get insurance against the legal costs involved in going to the High Court, so that you can proceed. And to get that insurance, you certainly would want a legal opinion which came from someone that was very well qualified and extremely well recognized, someone with an extraordinarily good repute at the bar in London. And that's exactly what we have. Someone whose repute would precede their appearance on our behalf in the High Court. And obviously then something that Betfair wouldn't be particularly looking forward to, considering the quality of such an individual, and the quality of that individual would also, I think, ensure that we could get sufficient insurance, so there would be a real and meaningful threat of legal action on our part were we not to reach a satisfactory conclusion. So you don't have to put your house on the line to take on Betfair, but these are the kind of costs that we're talking about, and they are reasonable to do this, because what we're talking about in this, and what I've been focused on in this all along, is that we don't mess around. This, as I say, is not about seeking justice principally. It is about a careful evaluation of our legal position, and I believe our legal position is very strong. Our legal position is that Betfair were negligent in the terms and conditions which they set for that market, and then they were negligent in the way they handled the market. They were negligent in the way they failed to advise people who were placing money on about the way that they were handling the market and would handle the market. They were negligent in every aspect, so many aspects that they overlap each other. And many people suffered multiple forms of that negligence in their interactions with the company. And this is demonstrable, experienced by many, evidenced and absolutely clear, the negligence. We've established that already. So, considering that that kind of behaviour is generally, consumers are protected under United Kingdom law from that kind of behaviour, we feel that there is a very good case that we can get across the line in terms of when you bring such a case before the High Court, regardless of the finessing of it in terms of, okay, well, how much responsibility does Betfair bear, and are there punitive and exemplary damage aspects down there, are there consequent damages, etc. Regardless of all of that, and the arguments about how much and when and why and where, that on the fundamental question of where does the responsibility lie in this case, and therefore where do the legal costs lie? Who erred here? That on that core question, it is inescapable for Betfair that they are and were negligent. And therefore, we have a strong likelihood of succeeding if we go forward with the case. And it's that puts us in a position to be able to get across a table and arrive at a settlement. It is that ability to go forward because we have a quality of case which can be properly resourced, and also the core argument being demonstrable in advance and provable in advance based on an assessment of our case. If we get that green light, we're good to go. That's it in essence. The further details are there in the Telegram group when you interact with others to discuss the matter, and any further information I'll put it up in that Telegram group. But I'd like to now show you how you can indicate your interest in participating. If those kind of costs which I outlined there don't scare you off, if something in that region, I'm not saying that's what it's going to be, we'll get on to you again with details of what that will be. Don't worry about that. We'll get on to you again with all of that detail. The question is now, if that kind of money doesn't scare you off, are you ready to put your money where your mouth is? And if you are, I'll show you how you can indicate, yeah, if you guys are going ahead, I've seen the pricing you're looking at there, whatever, get back to me with more detail. I want to see exactly who, when, why, where, and who I pay and what, and all of it. But yeah, I'm interested. If that's how you feel, then what you do now is go to fintondunne.com, and that's it there, Fintondunne, FINTANDUNNE.com, and you see a contact form there, and I'm going to just bring that up in full and show you there's a contact form over on the right hand side here. Contact me, top right hand corner there, click on that, and up comes a blank form. Hey, I can show you how to do this, right? It's actually prompting me for my own name, but I'll put in Joe Smith, an email, JOESMITH 999 at gmail.com. I mean, you don't have to give me your phone number. If you wish to, then by all means do. For communication purposes down the line, that might perhaps be beneficial. But then your message is just to introduce yourself with your bet details. I bet 8,000 sterling. This would be nice in 5 BET bets. And just confirm where you are, UK or whatever. Show UK. So short and sweet. I mean, you don't have to give me your life story if you want to evaluate further, but I'd appreciate the first line like that, because that just gives me an idea. Okay, you 5 bet involved, yeah, 8 grand, right? Now I know, and we have an idea of what the total volume is going to be of people who are interested in getting involved. As easy as that, and that's the bottom line. That's what matters, is the contact. And so those who get in touch that way and let me know that they're in, you're not making a commitment, you're not committed to anything, and we'll be in touch with further details. But that's going to let me gauge exactly how many are on board, whether it's 5, 25 or 55, and that determines where we go from here. But in terms of our ability to deliver, I believe we have, as I say, a heavyweight bunch with Joe Frazier as a solicitor and Muhammad Ali as a barrister. He's slick. He's so slick. He has them laughing, and they're laughing so much they never see it when he hits them with the right cross. So I believe we have a good team potentially able to deliver a knockout blow to Betfair on this issue. And as I say, if you're serious, then use that contact form there on fintondone.com to get. I know you may have been in touch before and on other lists, etc. And if you have been in touch before and are on the email list, you're still on them. You don't need to do this and get in touch with me with this form to stay on the list. You're still on the list, and of course you can join the Telegram group, which is a private group now and shouldn't get filled with spam the way the public group did. And it's dedicated not to discussing the last election, but to the details of this specific action to recover our damages from Betfair for their handling of the election. So no need to get in touch unless you are, as I say, interested in moving forward as a spearhead. If you're among those who invested, whether you live in Europe or wherever, if you went on to the United Kingdom, betfair.co.uk website, and placed bets there in the order of 50k to 5k, that's my red and white seller there. Just that's his Betfair bark, actually. If you invested in that kind of a range, well then do get in touch with me on fintondone.com via the contact form. Let me know how much you put on, not how much you hope to win, but if you put on, then let me know how much, and that'll let me gauge where we are, and let's see where it goes from here. All right. It's been an interesting time waiting for this to come around, and I'm glad we waited, and I'm glad we now finally have an opportunity to see where we get justice on this at last. Take care, folks, and I'll talk to you soon again.